You found the Backup Wrap-Up, your go-to podcast for all things backup, recovery, and cyber recovery. In this episode, we look at social engineering tactics in our analysis of the Mr. Robot series. Prasanna and I will break down how one character uses Instagram stalking, personal information gathering, and even sleeping with somebody to compromise their phone and steal sensitive emails. We also talk about how cybersecurity budgets, low ones, like the $7,000 budget they talk about in the show, create vulnerabilities that hackers will exploit. We look at how social engineering attacks work, what you can do to protect yourself and your organization. By the way, if you don't know who I am, I'm W. Curtis Preston, aka Mr. Backup. And I've been passionate about backup and recovery for over 30 years, ever since I had to tell my boss that there were no backups of that database that we just lost. I don't want that to happen to you, and that's why I do this. On this podcast, we turn unappreciated backup admins into cyber recovery heroes. This is the Backup Wrap-Up. Welcome to the show. Hi, I'm W. Curtis Preston, aka Mr. Backup, and I have with me a guy who is also celebrating the return of the Tesla, Prasanna Malayandi. How's it going, Prasanna?
I was like, what am I celebrating? I'm good,
return
Kurt.
of the Tesla.
Well,
it's all back.
You got it back, and then you had to put it back, and then you got it back again.
I did. I had to put it back.
Or give it back, I should say.
Yeah, the hood was slightly misaligned, and there was some clear coat overspray on a completely different part of the car. So like it was, I guess, the wind or something took some. That was not. I wasn't very happy about that.
They shouldn't be spraying outdoors. Just saying. So today we're going to continue our series on Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot.
And we are today on episode 3, which is episode 1.2 according to their naming, labeled debug.mkv. Yeah. Don't ask me about the numbering, but it all gets confusing. So,
well, it all starts at 0.
Yes.
Yeah. So normal people call it episode 3. That's why I'm saying episode 1.2. He wakes up in a hospital after being dumped off the pier from Mr. Robot, and he's obviously upset.
Angela shows up with his psychiatrist, and his psychiatrist is like, I'm not going to let you go because you're the one who called me and said, come.
Yeah.
And she's like, I need you to get a drug test every 2 weeks or whatever it is to make sure you're not still using. Otherwise, I'm not going to sign you out. Yeah.
And he agrees to do that. But by drug test, what he means is I'm going to hack the hospital.
And I like how he has, like, he tells someone and then you have, like, the inner voice go on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and he's like, this is the whole reason I chose this hospital, right? Because there's a guy that, the IT guy, he says, I heard $7,000 a year, but I think it was I think you're right, it's $70,000 a year. And he's not that impressed with the guy's skills.
And he's running like Windows 95, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And so he gets out of the hospital, and he tries to go back to what he normal, and then he gets invited to a dinner party with his boss, and he brings the girl that he kind of rescued from drugs, or
his neighbor
rescued, his neighbor, as his girlfriend, although they're not really girlfriend or boyfriend, to this dinner party, and he's at
they
the
are
dinner
though
party.
because he asks her 2 hours before.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Really awkward scene when they ask him how long how long they've been together. He goes, today.
Yeah. Well, and then did you see Angela just like pour the rest of the bottle of wine?
Yeah. So clearly Angela has feelings for him as well, or maybe concern. I don't know. We just don't know. But anyway, and then you have the boss, which is Gideon. And the boss is he still wasn't sure about what happened, so he looked into what happened, and he came up with the story as to why he didn't tell him about that file, and then he hugs him, But then the end of the episode is the episode. There's this big email hack, and the Terry Colby is revealed to be behind, and Evil Corp is revealed to be behind this big toxic waste spill.
Yep.
That ultimately result in the deaths of his dad and her mom.
And that's actually when they finally say that's how the two of them met. Because the entire time you're like, how do these two know each other?
Why are they? Yeah. Why are they so close? And yeah.
I think you're also missing one part.
What part am I
that
missing?
also happened in this episode, right? Because didn't Terrell find out information?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Tyrell, I think it's Tyrell, right? Finds out that he's not going to be the CTO, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, and he basically. So I think that's an important part, right? Because as he's waiting, right? So he's supposed to have a meeting with the CEO.
Yeah.
And as he's like all pumped and ready to go, he goes into the CEO's like waiting area. And the CEO comes out and says, I'm busy. I think we have a good candidate for the CTO. And you just look at his face, just like get all dejected. Now, as you leave, I don't know if you noticed this, but he like talks to the assistant.
And he tells him to send an email to him directly.
Send an email to him directly.
Why is that relevant?
Later in the episode, because he got the email, he got the name of the person, and then he starts looking him up. He tracked him on Instagram. He figured out where he was going to be. He showed up at the club, and the dude's like, hey, I didn't know you're into this. He's like, I'm not. I'm here just for you. He ends up taking the guy home, right?
So he sleeps with the guy to get access to his phone.
Yeah.
And it does appear that he's straight.
Yep.
We don't have any other evidence that he's not. And he sleeps with a guy to get access to his phone, which I'm going to say is commitment.
Yeah. Well, and he tells his wife, right? He's like, I have business to go take care of.
Yeah. He lies to his wife. He had business. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, I'll applaud him for his level of commitment.
And then what he does is when the guy's out of the room, he basically steals the guy's phone. And then from there, he basically installs a rootkit on it. He makes it such that the phone can be remotely accessed. And he later on uses that to be able to read all the emails. And this is the one thing I was surprised about, right, is hopefully today most people have either biometrics or pins or something on their phones.
Uh-huh.
So then when they are not available or around, that someone can just open up their phone and start using it. Right?
Well, he literally opens up his phone, right?
He opens up the back of his phone, yes.
Yeah. I'm going to say, number one, that's an Android phone, not an iPhone. Yeah. You're not opening up iPhones like that.
Yeah.
And you're not opening up most Android phones like that either. That's a cheap Android phone to be able to do that. He could have just swapped the SIM card, but that wouldn't have been as cool, I suppose, right? You're also not swapping the SIM card in an iPhone easily, right?
Well, and most of them don't even have SIM cards.
Well, I think they have them, but they're internal, right?
No, most are gone. They're all eSIMs now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. What do I know?
And this is where he finds out, okay, who is in the running for the CTO. He finds out it's this woman's husband who was in the office with the CEO earlier, right? And you can kind of see like the wheels turning in his head. And then later at the very end of the episode, right, his wife is like, we need to make sure that we sort of invite them over to dinner, right? And you could already see like the wheels turning between the two of them, right? In both their heads, where they're like, yes, we have to figure out how to sabotage this so that other guy doesn't get the CTO role and you do.
Yeah. So, when we think about that, once again, especially if you're in a sensitive role, caution the level of personal information that you put out there. This is where I'm going to dinner. Yep. This is where I'm going out. These are the kind of places that I like to go. Here's a picture of me that if you download, you're going to get all kinds of metadata. It'll tell you exactly where this is, right? The two generations following me, I think you're in the other generation, right? The two generations following me are much more used to putting that kind of information out quite a bit, like all day long. Like, here's what I had for breakfast, and here's the club that I'm at, and whoa, here are the 7 different pictures of the 7 different clubs I went to and when.
Yeah.
And just realize that can be used against you.
And it's not even just like that he was important. It's the fact that he was working in an important role where he was managing the CEO's calendar and other things like that.
Yeah. Let's go back to the beginning of the episode and talk about that hospital. I think it's interesting that he chose a hospital. I mean, he says, I chose this hospital because of its lack of cybersecurity, because he knew sort of what was going to happen. He knew that he was going to get busted for the morphine. And,
at some point. It was a matter of it.
At some point. And that he knew that based on what he knew about the guy that runs the thing. And that's it. When you look at somebody who's an actual hacker, right, the level of information that they can get about you, especially once they start doing reconnaissance, right? He's good at sort of, poking in and figuring stuff out. And he definitely got enough information on this guy to know that he would be able to easily get in and change the hospital records to make it look like he was clean when clearly he was not.
You know what, though? That's like very thoughtful.
He's a super smart dude.
Yeah.
He's a super smart dude. He's troubled. He's clearly addicted to drugs. But he's super smart, right? I'd call him a high functioning drug addict.
But some parts of me thinks like he kind of like starts going along like the white hat line, right? Instead of a black hat, right? Where he's doing this for ethical reasons.
Yeah, not the hacking of the hospital, but yeah. So just the topic to discuss there is just think about the people that work for you, and if these people are responsible for cybersecurity in any way, you should think twice about underpaying them.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Underpaying, right? And then I think the other thing they also mentioned is the guy had no budget, right? He had I think it was like $10,000 a year to spend on IT security.
Maybe that's the number that I was hearing. $7,000 a year is the number that I heard. Maybe that's the number I was hearing.
Yeah. And so it's important, especially a hospital or anything of value, that you put the same budget towards things like security, data protection, resiliency that you are for other aspects.
Yeah, I remember when I go all the way back to, my first job with backups.
Back
in the day, I remember how much money we would spend for the new sexy server, right? Mm-hmm. We bought, there was, I think it was called a T500. It was an HPUX server. It was a T500. And this thing was huge. Mm-hmm. It was 100 gigabytes. It was huge. Now, I have this.
Yeah.
This is a
SD card.
Yeah,
micro
SD card,
yeah.
And it's 256. But yeah, it was 100 gigabytes, and what I remember was there was zero discussion about backup infrastructure for this thing, and we were using DDS drives, which were 2 gigabytes. I think it had a DDS2, which meant it was 4 gigabytes. And I was like, so I'm going to have to swap tapes 25 times. I remember having that discussion. And that was how luckily we bought our first tape library. But it's very common for things that aren't directly related to revenue, like cybersecurity and data protection, to have to be, budgeted down and it's your job as a cybersecurity or a backup professional, disaster recovery. It is your job to bring that stuff out into the forefront. So
I remember, this was a while ago, that in IT, there was a study done. I think they said people spend 1% to 2% of their IT budget on data protection.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Right. And this was a while ago. But I think, though, if you now throw in security, cybersecurity, and just given everything that's happening in the world these days, I hope that number has shifted upwards.
Yeah, I think it has, but maybe not enough. It depends on the company. I've been at companies where, like, I can remember a meeting where we were discussing the fact that this company didn't have a DR plan. Mm-hmm. And this was a big company. Mm-hmm. This was a company that you would absolutely know the name of, okay? And the comment was made by a senior manager. Well, because it was like, well, what happens if a big earthquake comes? Because this was a Southern California company. What happens if the big earthquake comes? Well, if that happens, if an earthquake that big happens, I'm probably going to be dead. I won't care. Right? If you have somebody who's convinced that like RAID is backup, or we don't need backup, or whatever, maybe it's time to wash your hands and walk away. Yeah. Right? At a minimum, it's time to very loudly in writing, this is what I think we should be doing, and what we're currently doing is beyond ill-advised. You need to do that, right, to make your case. And if they ignore you, then maybe it's time to move on. Right? Yeah. So, all right. So then let's talk about
the email.
Right? So this huge F Society, which, by the way, I'm basically likening, I hadn't mentioned this in the previous 2 episodes, I'm basically likening them to Anonymous, right? Mm-hmm. Anonymous uses a Guy Fawkes mask. Yeah. This guy uses this weird-looking mask.
You know what? Is Anonymous even around anymore? I think they got shut down.
I don't know.
Or they got rebranded.
I haven't heard much about him yet.
Exactly. So I think when Mr. Robot was made, which was like 7 years ago, 6 years ago, mm-hmm. I think at the time Anonymous was very prevalent.
Right.
But I think since then they've either been shut down or rebranded to one of the other groups, right? Whatever it is, and that's why you may not know about it as much.
I haven't seen any videos of anyone posting videos of like the stuff that they were doing there. But what we have is we have this email hack, and an email dump, right? We have an email dump of really embarrassing corporate emails that prove essentially that that they did some really bad stuff.
As I was watching this episode, I remember thinking back. I don't know if you remember, Curtis, the Sony hack, where Sony had their emails compromised and published, and there was some embarrassing information that executives were
they were trash talking talent.
Yep.
Channing Tatum was somebody that I was just looking at it. Channing Tatum apparently got some emails about him read, Yeah.
And so I think that is kind of what they modeled this after. But so
and similar to that, basically this was just released. It was like, and so you wonder why did Mr. Robot essentially release this email? Yeah. And I'd say it was obviously to completely discredit Terry Colby, right, the previous CTO, and to continue to muck up the waters, right?
Well, I think it was also because until this point, Elliot's kind of on the fence, right? He's like, I want nothing to do with you. I'm stepping away from you guys. Right. And this is kind of like the nail in the coffin for Elliot, right? Where he's like, screw this. Let's go guns a-blazing and go after these guys. Because until that point, he was like, no, I don't think so. Right.
Yeah. OK. So I see what you're saying. This was he wanted Elliot, to do the thing. Yeah. And he wants him to do it willingly. He wants him to come along, and he does believe Elliot, as he says multiple times, Elliot is the key to this whole thing.
The other thing too that I was wondering as I watched this episode was, it's interesting how like Elliot and Allsafe and all the investigations they didn't notice all these emails being exfiltrated.
Well, so that's interesting. So there is a possible reason for that, and I literally I'm currently editing my book, right? So we finished the rough draft and we're editing.
What's your book called?
It's called Learning Ransomware Response and Recovery. Thank you very much. And I was just editing the part where just realized that the backup system, not only is it It's not an attack like it's not just the thing that they want to attack because they want to take it out of the mix, right? They want to take it away from you as a tool to be used after the ransomware attack. It is also the kingdom, right? Is the key. I had an interesting conversation with one of the tech editors, and I was saying that if you had control of the backup system, that you could restore an image of a VM, and then you could do things like a brute force attack against the password file without anybody noticing because you restored it like outside the control of everybody. And he's like, why would you do that? And I was listing this as like additional reconnaissance that you could do. And he said, why would you do that? And I said, well, to be able to hack that server. He's like, why? You have the server.
Yeah.
You have the VM, right? And I'm like, yeah, I guess you have the keys to the kingdom if you've got the backups. He goes, no, you have the kingdom. He's like, you've got everything. And so it's quite possible that one of the reasons that they didn't notice an exfiltration is that the exfiltration was done via the backup system, right? Email backups, it's a double-edged sword. You should be backing up your emails. You should be backing up Microsoft 365 or Gmail or whatever it is you're using. But the double-edged sword is if you're backing up your emails, then those are a valuable tool for forensics, for e-discovery and things like that. And in this case, you could very easily restore, all these emails and then, find out what you're looking for. Yeah.
That is true. Yeah. And it is a possible thing. It was just one thing that I just felt that they missed, right? Just given how much detail they went.
Talking about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in general, you're right. Who's they? Is they the writers of the show or AllSafe?
AllSafe / Elliot.
Okay. Yeah. We'll put this in the IMDb category of mistakes made by characters, right? I don't know if you've ever looked at the goofs.
No.
I love looking at. I'm a big movie and TV fan, and I love looking on IMDb. Love looking at the goofs, and if you're an uber nerd on a particular topic like cybersecurity, you can go in and put this kind of stuff in there. So all right, so be careful what you put in email. Be careful and make sure to protect the backups of your email.
Yeah.
Right. We talk so much about the cybersecurity of the environment. Make sure about the cybersecurity of your backups. Make sure they're not easily.
Also, the social engineering aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I don't know if people are aware, but there's like this ransomware group called Scattered Spider going around and popping a bunch of, I think, banks and airlines and other things. Mm-hmm. And one of their first ways of getting in is they pretend to be an employee asking for their password to be reset.
Yeah. No bueno.
Yes. So be careful what you post out there about where you work, what you're doing, and other things like that, because that may be used against you.
Yeah. That's why I tell people I work at In-N-Out.
Oh, Curtis.
I don't even like In-N-Out. I mean, I don't hate it, okay? I know that's like sacrilege here in California, but...
No, there's now an uproar. I don't know if you've heard about this.
What?
The CEO moved to Tennessee.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She took the company and left.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll see. But like my daughter, she, whenever she leaves California, the first thing she does, literally on her way home from the airport, is get In-N-Out. I'm like, I don't get it.
Does she get a 4x4, fries and a shake?
No, I don't think so. Me, I'm a Five Guys person, but
Five Guys is good.
All right. Well, another fun episode. Look forward to episode 4, aka 1.3 next week.
Yes, I am. Then I will not have to go watch it before then, and hopefully you will not spoil it for me.
There's computers in it.
Curtis, why?
All right. Well,
that's all I got.
Thanks, Prasanna. It's been fun.
Likewise, Curtis.
And thanks to our listeners. You are why we do this. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you learned a thing or two. That is a wrap. The Backup Wrap-Up is written, recorded, and produced by me, W. Curtis Preston. If you need backup or DR consulting, content generation, or expert witness work, check out backupcentral.com. You can also find links for my O'Reilly books on the same website. Remember, this is an independent podcast, and any opinions that you hear are those of the speaker and not necessarily an employer. Thanks for listening.